Well, I think I have a little bit of experience since I've been here for 4 years, and I've obviously been on a couple of head of state trips with you, and attended many functions, so I think I'm pretty much schooled up now.
Yeah. From Olympic pools to palace walls, Princess Charlene's life looked like a dream on the outside. But even then, the cracks were visible if you knew where to look. Long before she became royalty, Charlene was a professional swimmer known for her discipline and focus. She represented South Africa at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, and it was at a swim meet in Monaco in 2000 that she first met Prince Albert. They didn't make their relationship public until 2006. And that in itself raised eyebrows. And when they did get married in 2011, things didn't go smoothly. Rumors started swirling just days before the ceremony that Charlene had tried to flee Monaco 3 times, once at the airport and twice more during dress fittings. The palace denied it, but the French media stuck to the story. Photos from the wedding day only fueled speculation. Charlene looked stiff, even tearful at times, especially during the religious ceremony. What was supposed to be a joyous union seemed forced, like she was being led down the aisle instead of walking into her new life freely. And this wasn't just gossip. Reports claimed that right before the wedding, Charlene found out about another child fathered by Prince Albert out of wedlock, just months before they tied the knot. That would bring his total number of known illegitimate children to at least 2. Legally, none of them could inherit the throne, but emotionally, that kind of revelation is heavy. Yet she stayed, and over the years, while she appeared at royal events, cut ribbons, and posed for official portraits, something always seemed off. Her smile rarely reached her eyes, and she often looked alone, even when surrounded by crowds. But to understand how we got here, we have to go back to the beginning of the fairy tale that was never quite what it seemed. So, let's rewind to 2011. Monaco was lit up. I mean really lit up. It was the wedding of the year. Princess Charlene of South Africa, a former Olympian, marrying Prince Albert II of Monaco, the son of Hollywood royalty Grace Kelly. You couldn't write a better script, or so we thought. Charlene walked down the aisle in this absolutely stunning Armani gown. It was sleek, elegant, and took thousands of hours to make. The whole thing screamed fairy tale, right? But here's where things get weird. Because while the cameras were zoomed in on the dress and the smiles, behind the scenes, things weren't so picture perfect. Now, I know some people might be like, come on, every royal wedding has drama, but this was different. There were actual reports from the French media that Charlene tried to run away. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Yup. According to these reports, she first tried to leave Monaco right before the wedding, allegedly heading to the airport. Then again during a dress fitting in Paris, and again days before the ceremony. What's worse, sources claimed the palace had to take her passport to stop her from leaving. That's not your everyday cold feet, that's get me out of here energy. Now, of course, the palace denied everything. They were like, no, it's all lies, she's just emotional. But Charlene's face during the ceremony said everything. You can Google the footage. She's crying during the religious vows, and not the happy tears kind. This wasn't the look of a bride who was marrying the love of her life. It was the look of someone who felt cornered. And you gotta wonder, what made her stay? Well, according to multiple outlets at the time, she had just found out Prince Albert had fathered another child out of wedlock. That would have been his 3rd. And here she was, about to marry him with the whole world watching. Okay, so fast forward a bit. Charlene is now officially Her Serene Highness. She's living in Monaco, attending royal events, smiling for cameras, but let's be real, something always felt off. You ever look at someone and just feel they're not okay? That was Charlene, and this didn't go unnoticed. By 2017, people really started picking up on how frosty things seemed between her and Albert. Even during public appearances, Charlene looked more like a guest than a wife. And Albert, he's had years of royal training, so he's good at hiding things. But Charlene, her face gives it away every time. People started talking. And not just tabloids. Regular folks who'd seen them up close or followed royal life started pointing out the distance. She was doing fewer public events, and when she did show up, she seemed fragile, like she wanted to be anywhere else. And let's not forget, this is Monaco we're talking about. It's a tiny country, everything gets noticed, so when the princess isn't around, people ask why. Was she sick? Was she unhappy? Was she being silenced? That's when the rumors about her mental health and emotional well-being really started circulating. Again, the palace kept it quiet, kept things formal, but the vibe told a different story.
Congratulations.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you? One or two things to fix and I come back.
Okay, you fix them.
Alright, let's get into the part that really starts to make you question everything. Prince Albert's past. Now, royal families are known for having skeletons in their closets, but Albert, his closet was a whole graveyard. Before he even married Charlene, he already had 2 confirmed children from previous relationships, and we're not talking way back in his youth either. These were relatively recent when Charlene came into the picture. One child with a flight attendant in the early 2000s, and another with a Togolese woman he met in the 90s. But here's where it gets really shady. Just weeks before their wedding, a third woman stepped forward claiming Albert fathered her child too. So imagine being Charlene. You're days away from marrying a prince, the world is watching, and now there's another potential baby mama coming out of nowhere? That's not just a red flag, that's a whole red carpet of what am I walking into? Now, you might be thinking, okay, maybe she didn't know. But insiders say she did find out, and it was part of the reason she allegedly tried to flee Monaco multiple times before the wedding. And let's be honest, if someone's trying to escape before saying, I do, you gotta wonder if they're doing it out of love or pressure. Fast forward a few years into the marriage, and rumors never really stopped. There were more stories about secret flings, new paternity claims, and Charlene always looked tired. Not physically tired, emotionally, like someone who just stopped expecting honesty from the man she married. And that's the part that hits hard, because how do you even begin to trust someone when their past keeps showing up at your door with more surprises? How can you build a marriage on secrets? And how long can you pretend when the truth is louder than the lie? Now let's talk about something that really got people talking. Charlene's sudden long absence from Monaco. In 2021, she flew to South Africa for what was supposed to be a short charity trip, but then she just didn't come back. For months. And right before that trip, she was already looking super tense, distant, and just over it. So this whole South Africa stays, a lot of people think it was her way of hitting pause. And it's not just internet gossip either. There were multiple reports suggesting that Charlene wasn't just healing from a sinus infection, she was also healing from emotional burnout. Some even said she was staying in a private home away from cameras just to get some mental clarity. Then, in late 2021, after finally returning to Monaco, she didn't jump back into public life like you'd expect. Instead, she checked into a wellness facility in Switzerland. And the palace finally acknowledged it wasn't just physical health, she needed emotional and mental rest. Now, let's pause for a second. If someone disappears for almost a year, avoids public life, and ends up in a treatment center far from home, that's not just a sore throat, that's someone going through something deeper. And again, remember the timing. This came after a decade of silence, strain, and scandal. So yeah, maybe her body was sick, but maybe her heart and mind were even more tired. They said she was sick, but what if her silence wasn't about illness?
Yeah, I think the party starts now.
So after months of hiding away, Charlene finally returned to Monaco. But here's the kicker. There was no royal parade, no big celebrations, just a quiet reappearance. Now think about it. You're a princess, one of the most famous in the world. You marry a prince. Your wedding is literally a fairy tale event. And yet, when you come back from an extended absence, the media doesn't swarm. That's a pretty big sign something's not right. There were no grand welcomes, no let's throw a party vibe, just silence. And then, behind the closed doors, sources close to Charlene started talking. And they didn't sugarcoat it. Friends said Charlene was done pretending, done putting on a happy face for the cameras, done hiding her heartbreak beneath the sparkle of her royal life. She was overplaying the role of the perfect princess, and honestly, who could blame her? If you've been under constant pressure, dealing with secrets, and holding your own heart together with duct tape, enough's enough. Fast forward to more recent events and things aren't looking any better. In fact, there's this eerie tension surrounding Charlene's public statements. She's made a few, and let me tell you, they've got people talking. She's not giving the usual royal everything is great speeches. Instead, there's this weight in her words, like she's been holding on to something far bigger than what's visible. And don't even get me started on the way she's carrying herself in public. There's this emotional distance that's practically impossible to ignore. You see it in the pictures, her body language says it all. She's there physically, but emotionally, it's like she's somewhere else. That kind of disconnect doesn't just come from a rough day at work. That's the result of years of pent-up feelings, of a life that's been lived under extreme pressure and scrutiny. Now, we've all seen how royal families like to keep things hush-hush, but with all this buzz, you've got to wonder, what is the palace hiding? It's been years of speculation, and at this point, people aren't just whispering. The public is genuinely concerned, and it's not just royal gossip anymore. This feels like something deeper. What's your take on this? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to this channel for more videos.